So we wanted to take a couple of minutes to talk about the US-led liquidity in the German market this year. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, if you look what happened over the last couple of months in the German market, you see that deals like Amercell, like Minimax, Ceramtech, Springer Science, who used to be German loan-led transactions, have been found liquidity out of the US market, and this is driven by a huge wall of liquidity in the US market. If you look at the new issuance of credit funds in the US, that was year to date up to $40 billion. On the CLO side, you saw about $50 billion. And this compares very well with the record year in 2007. And all this money is looking for yield.
Yes.
There's only so much you can do in the US, so therefore you see this money coming into the European market. And in the older days, we always thought that any given lender needs to have a US angle. But if I speak to my US colleagues, they just say it's a credit-driven event. So if the credit stacks up, then they are fine that there's no US angle with the business. So we see for the right credits, we will see a lot of liquidity coming from the US, with the also with the typical parameters like covenant light, bullet structures, and so on. But from a sponsor perspective, you have to take into account that if you have a US-led deal, you face 3 or 4 issues. The first one is you have to take into account the FX risk. You can obviously hedge that, or if you have a US business and you generate US dollars, then you might have a natural hedge on it. Secondly, the setup of your syndicate will be different, because you will have a lot of smaller investors. Concept of whitelist does not exist in the US. So therefore, the more relationship-driven approach you see in the European market is not given in the US. People are trading in, trading out of the loan products. So if you want to do something with your portfolio company, i.e. you need to do restructuring, or you want to do an acquisition, and this is outside your loan documentation, it will be much more difficult to get the consent, whereas in Europe you have the relationship, you know which people you have on the table. Then what you will also see in the US is that for the freedom and the underwrite you get, you have to accept wider flex language than you would have in Europe.
Absolutely. So the US-led deals work for certain types of deals in Germany, but what about the smaller deals that can't support that level of leverage and sponsors unwilling to open themselves up to such a wide range of investors? What source of financing liquidity is open to them?
You will see the US deals could go down to $150 million. Below that, I think the German market or the European market will remain a more club-style market. You need about 5-6 banks, or you have one bank who does the underwrite. Certain new products are coming into the market. You see credit funds coming into the market, having a higher appetite to hold larger amounts, and you see unitranche products coming into the market. There are certain providers of unitranche, and like GE and Ares together, we have a 1.8 billion fund where we can do the unitranche. We could hold up to 150 million in this product. And it helps you to fill this gap that you not need to have 8 banks to do a club deal. You can do this as a one or second-handed deal.
Absolutely, and there are other banks offering unitranche solutions as well, such as Bank of Ireland and Macquarie. But my understanding is that the banks in general will still hold smaller tickets in a unitranche financing than funds which can offer much larger flexibility and hold much
Yeah,
larger
you have
tickets.
different providers of the unitranche. You have on the one hand you have unitranche providers which come more from the mezzanine and equity side. They're looking for higher yields, and then you have providers which are coming more from the senior lending side. Yeah, and then you need to find a solution like we did with Ares, where we have a fund vehicle and therefore we can hold higher levels, and that benefits the ultimate borrower because he only has one or two parties in it. Everyone can offer the unitranche, yeah, but they to get this benefit they would need to be prepared to take larger holds.
Absolutely. So there is good strength of liquidity in the market going forward from these areas,
Yeah, will be.
which is positive for sponsors and deals coming up.